And hello, welcome to the Social Justice Forums. I am your host, Daren Jaime. We thank you for joining us. Now, if you're asking the question, what is the show all about? Well, we bring you a forum discussing and providing a deeper understanding of the issues and inequities that many communities face. Things such as systemic inequalities to pressing social problems. Our guests provide multiple perspectives and insights to help us better understand and address the challenges. We also promote civic and community engagement. So we invite you to stay connected with us as the Social Justice Forums starts now. And welcome back. The Knowledge House empowers low-income youth and young adults by offering free technical training, professional development, and a robust network of partners, enabling them to secure well-paying jobs in the tech industry and achieve financial independence. Joining us now discussing more, we've got the Director of Corporate Partnerships at the Knowledge House. We've got Daniel and Adeyanju. Am I correct? Did I get it right?
It's Adeyanju, but I appreciate the attempt, Darren. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, man, thank you so much for being with us, and I appreciate you taking the time to share. There's so much going on, but when we talk literally about the work that you do, let's get right into it.
Absolutely. So, my name is Daniel Adeyanju. I'm the Director of Partnerships at the Knowledge House, the house that love built. We were founded in 2014 by Geraldine Rodriguez and Joe Carano because they saw a need in our communities to connect underestimated communities like ours to family sustaining tech wages. Geraldine's from the Bronx, and she saw that her local community was completely being left out of the digital economy. So she joined with Joe, who's a technologist who taught himself to code and availed himself to a well-paying tech career. And since then, almost 10 years later, we've impacted over 2,000 lives in the Bronx, now beyond. We're now in LA, Atlanta, New Jersey, and we are doing amazing work with our adults. We avail folks to a year-long innovation fellowship in cybersecurity, data science, user experience, and for our youth, we have a year-long program called the Kareem Carbuch Coding Fellowship. It's actually named after French Montana. It avails them to learn about the tech space.
When we talk about tech, obviously there is a huge digital divide, and you're doing a great job of really closing the gap. But when we talk about really closing that gap, where are we by way of that? I mean, how do you see it?
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, the conversation right now, we're seeing AI, the rise of AI, and we as communities really need to make sure that our young people are prepared. We have certainly a long ways to go, which is why the Knowledge House and what we're doing is so important. So we look to galvanize our communities and our parents to think about family sustaining careers, not minimum wage anymore, family sustaining careers. And that all points to tech skills like the ones I mentioned, data science, being able to design experiences, being able to protect our networks, cyber security, and understanding data. So it's a lot of work that needs to be done, but working with schools as we do, working with higher ed institutions as we do, it's a full court press that we all need to work together as a community to make a difference.
You know, we have a lot of people out there that saying, listen, I just have enough trouble navigating Google and online. Right now, to get to the place of navigating AI, Chat GBT, got a whole lot of other stuff that's out there. Um, it can become somewhat overwhelming. And as even though young people are great receptors, certainly for them, it's also been a challenge as well. So I know that you've got an event that's coming up to really talk about the future of it. So why don't you walk us through a little bit about the event and what's taking place?
Absolutely. So, our event is called The Future of Tech Navigating the Rise of Artificial Intelligence. It's our annual corporate reception. It is an opportunity for us to engage these partners who hire from our communities, they mentor in our communities, and they financially sponsor this work. Our work is free to our fellows, our participants, but it does cost to do this kind of work. So in this corporate reception, we're going to be focusing on navigating the rise of artificial intelligence. So our esteemed panel, including folks from Afrotech, Microsoft, eat okra, they'll be talking about how underestimated communities like ours can ensure that we're part of the digital economy. So that's going to be on November 15th at Accenture, one of our key partners. And we have other great partners that will be present, such as Bloomberg and Barclays, who have been supporting our work for years. It's going to be a rich, dynamic conversation. We welcome members of the community and corporate organizations that want to be a part of this work, who want to financially support us, who want to hire from our communities, as well as mentor our communities.
Danny, I'll throw the question out to you. I think you kind of led into it a little while ago, but I want to ask the question about how does the underserved community stay kind of relevant during a time of pivotal change such as this?
Absolutely. So it's gonna start with curiosity. Our communities need to be asking more questions. Our communities need to be positioning themselves as problem solvers. In this era, we have AI, we have all these tools. These are simply the new hammers and nails. We must master them through programs like the Knowledge House. We must upskill, but we need to take those tools and use them to build up our communities, use them to get high paying roles that will help us to sustain our families so that we can take care of ourselves. We don't have to wait for anyone else to help out. The Knowledge House is here to provide the tools and the skills we can build a future that is inclusive for our communities.
Yeah, and when we talk about building the future, obviously, what do you foresee in the future by way of this digital technological advance? As we said, a lot's happening right now, and the communities that you're working with, the young people that you're working with, also really getting them on pace to be able to be sustainable.
Absolutely. So there are a lot of kind of horror stories that people say. I'm an optimist. I'm a techno optimist. I think that we've had many of these revolutions before, these industrial revolutions. This is pretty much our fourth one. And it's very clear that those that take up the skills and the tools and the mindsets can be successful. Many of our communities, historically, if you go back into the history at the beginning of time, um, uh, in the Black community in Africa, folks were building things. We need to, in the Bronx and beyond, we need to own our talent. If you look at hip hop, we need to own our history and build for our own. So if we do that, if we get those skills and we go for these high paying jobs, we get rid of the fear and we lead with the love that we have for each other, for our communities, for our children, and we go and learn these skills. The moms, the grandmas, the grandpas, the dads, the uncles and nieces, each one teach 10. Come to the Knowledge House, gain these skills. I'm going to mention that one more time. And let's build the future. Let's own our futures. Let's solve problems for ourselves.
Let me throw some numbers out here. About 2,000 youth and young adults have you've been serving, and about 80% of those have actually graduated. Three out of four of them actually secure employment, and 90% of your staff are predominantly people of color and hail from the same community as your fellows. What's the secret sauce? Because it seems as though you're on a positive trajectory. What's the secret sauce for you?
I mean, you nailed it on the head. I mean, shout out to Geraldine, our founder, and Joe, our co-founder, our CTO. Being led by people of color, this is really for us, by us, from our communities. Geraldine being from the Bronx, from the South Bronx, he knows the challenges we face. One of our star students actually grew up in the same building as her in the South Bronx, low economic opportunity, and we've been able to change that trajectory. And it's really the amazing staff who really love what they do, who really love our communities, our amazing corporate partners who work with us to make sure that our fellows are prepared for the future of work, and our amazing fellows who really sacrifice their time. They're in class from 5:30 to 9:30 from Monday through Thursday for an entire year to change their trajectories, the trajectories of their families, and the trajectories of their communities.
When we talk about youth and young adults actually being serviced today, we know that in the New York City public school system, there are a lot of young people. We know about the digital divide there. In the New York City public school system during COVID, so many of them fell behind simply because of a lack of technology. What are you seeing from behind your desk by way of our young people and their ability to really navigate this age of tech, particularly AI?
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, it starts with the technology. They need to have the technology. But I think it also starts with the context. So, the schools need to continue to make sure that technology is built into the curriculum. What I saw as well, I had the opportunity to work with Sojourner Truth, an amazing middle school in Harlem, and I noticed that the teachers needed more support to make sure that they were up to date. And the principal really put a lot of effort towards that. So more school really upskilling their teachers. We're doing some work around that at the Knowledge House as well. Upskilling parents and providing the right context and the right mindsets. It's all going to be about the mindset, empowering the young people as problem solvers and establishing that they have a right to be a part of the digital economy. So they have the laptops, they have the internet, and they have the skills to leverage them to solve their problems, with AI being one of them. The schools need to incorporate AI, not run away from it, not try to hide it away, but teach the young people how to leverage AI in a way that does not remove their problem solving skill. There's some fundamental skills that they still need to learn, but AI can actually help them to get to higher order thinking to solve problems.
You know, a lot of teachers I've talked to and educators have a great concern about the use of it. And as anything, I mean, I think the internet is good. You use it, it works out. But there are also some challenges, right? Social media can be a great influence, but then we also know that there are challenges with that. But from an educational point of view, you know the pushback that you've been hearing from some of the educational community, particularly when it comes to AI and the use of cheating and whether or not that's actually going to help a student's academic progress. Speak to that and the need for still learning AI in spite of, these challenges.
Absolutely. So I had a great conversation with David Adams, who is the CEO of Urban Assembly, which has many schools in the Bronx. Actually, started in the Bronx, and this was at the Bronx Foundation event. The former Misha Porter leads that, and she was the former commissioner of the schools of DOE, former chancellor. Sorry. And what they're doing is really interesting because they're using AI to empower teachers. And I think that's really powerful around teacher evaluation. If you're using the technology to augment and improve the educational system and more stakeholders see that, I think that fear will begin to reduce. So there's a lot of research out there. As long as we're leading with love rather than fear, if we're going from a place of love, I want my young people to be prepared for the future of work. I need to go and figure out how to leverage AI rather than run away from it. Because if we kind of stick our heads into the sand, what's going to happen is that our young people will be left out of this digital revolution. And I can't, as a Bronxite, as somebody who loves the Bronx, I cannot accept that.
Yeah. How do you view the digital revolution as of right now? I mean, obviously, a lot of progression going on, a lot of things, and really trying to keep up. That's really what I think everybody's biggest thing is, from youth to adults to, educators. Folks trying to keep up, man.
We have to be curious, right? We have to start with love and be curious. Ask questions. Go online, ask questions. Go on ChatGPT. That's the chat.openai.com. You've heard about it, but have you tried it? You can ask it questions. You could probably ask it, how do I navigate the future of tech? But it's all going to be about that curiosity, which is going to encourage us to learn new things. Think about the problems that you want to solve in the world and start to find the tool to solve it. So we have to completely reframe the conversation from a deficit mindset, from a fear mindset, and think of it as an opportunity for us to leapfrog. The Bronx can actually jump over Jumpman and just spring forward so that we can really do some great things. I see great things happen in the Bronx. I'm actually heading to a cryptocurrency conference at Lehman College, which is around Bitcoin and things of this sort, as well as the underlying technology. So great things are happening in the Bronx, and I'm so blessed to be a part of what the Knowledge House is doing to move the Bronx forward.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of the organizers of that event, and really the word was how can we really continue to keep people informed in a time when, first of all, information doesn't, access to resources and information doesn't always hit underserved communities, and the fact that you have to be quote unquote in it to win it. Because when we talk about AI, when we talk about the emergence of technology, you talk about crypto, Bitcoin, all these other things, it's out here. And while people are very much change resistors, they're going to have to go from being a change resistor to a change embracer.
I love that. I'm going to take that. So, the Knowledge House, we are change embracers, we are change catalysts. At this event that we're hosting on November 15th at Accenture, we are galvanizing corporate organizations to know the Bronx and beyond, New York City and our other cities as well as places where you can find high quality talent. We are problem solvers. We are creators. We created hip hop. Let's not forget it. 50 years in the game. And we can also be arbiters of the future of technology. We can make sure that's inclusive. So that's why this panel is gathered. That's why these companies are supporting us. We're looking for more companies to support us. We're looking for the community to join us in this movement to make sure that our communities are driving the future of tech, our young people are included in the future of a tech, and that we are able to sustainably feed our families and our communities.
Where do people go from here in terms of trying to get information? I mean, obviously, the Knowledge House has got a lot of knowledge. So, how do they tap in? How do they get connected? And where do people go from here?
Thank you so much. So certainly go on our website. You can find us at theknowledgehouse.org. THEKNOWLEDGE house HOUSE.org. You can also find us on Instagram at the Knowledge House. I believe it's HOU on Instagram because we don't have enough characters. We're also on Twitter. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. Everyone who hears the sound of my voice, if you are interested in opportunities, you want to be on LinkedIn, companies are looking for you, and you can connect with us on LinkedIn as well. My name is Daniel Adeyanju. I'm happy to connect with folks on LinkedIn as well. You can find my name on LinkedIn, but please stay tuned to what we're doing. Our recruitment is actually going to open up in February of next year for both our adult and our youth programs.
Daniel, when you talk about youth programs, obviously, you're pretty solid with those and have a great connection with our young people. What are some of the barriers that maybe we're not paying attention to that we as a community need to when it comes to young people in this age of the digital and technology?
I think it starts with I think the biggest barrier. So we can talk about the kind of physical barriers, right? Folks don't have their laptop, they don't have the technology, they don't have the internet. So there's an access issue, there's an equipment issue. I believe that there's also a social capital issue. There are not enough people telling our young people that they belong in the future of tech, that they have options. So we need a movement of parents and principals and teachers and pastors and uh, uh, all types of folks galvanizing our young people that they are going to lead the future. They're going to be leading families, taking care of children of their own in better circumstances than they might have grown up in. So, in order to do that, they need to be learning these tech skills. They need to be developing curiosity. They need to be playing with technology, and that's where a lot of the learning happens. They need to break things, ask the question why. Again, pointing that curiosity. So, I really think that the social capital, being able to see that future that is possible for them, we need to solve for that as well as the structural things. Of course, there's the financial aspect as well, where folks are thinking about just meeting their immediate needs. More poverty alleviation programs are necessary, and I believe they can be paired. For example, in our youth program, we provide a stipend of $1,000 over the summer so that young people don't have to decide between learning technology and developing and earning money. So when you can combine the two such that they're learning future-proof skills while earning some money, and in our adult program, we also provide financial incentives to support people's learning. Again, our programs are free to our participants. We actually pay folks to learn, and we're looking to develop that model as we receive more funding to ensure that people can persist through our program.
Daniel Adeyanju, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate your time and a great conversation. Certainly, we want people to get connected to the Knowledge House and then also the upcoming activities that are taking place so that way they can become, current, relevant, and definitely not left behind. Daniel, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks so much, Daren. Be blessed.
All righty. Taking a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Port Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug. You know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Thanks for hearing me out, bro.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
So as a technical sergeant, E6.
I served in Vietnam in 1969.
I am a U.S. Army veteran.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Try to always be there for each other.
I do my best reaching out to my brothers and sisters in arms.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right?
I can't say that I have. I mean,
If you don't have someone to kind of help you guide those thoughts, it can be really bad.
Eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
I guess it's a part of the military too, right? Service before self.
It was drilled in, service before self.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me, When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
My character, Shazam, knows all about growing up in a family full of teenage superheroes. They're bold.
Where's everyone going?
To fight crime?
Okay.
Adventurous. Shazam! There's never a dull moment. And no matter what happens, they'll always have your back. All they need is a place to grow and be themselves. And the best part is, you don't have to be a superhero to adopt a teen. Learn more about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward.
And we are back. Harlem Live is a renowned program for students aged 13 to 21. They're equipping them with the skills to run an online newspaper covering news, investigative reports, opinions, and more. Additionally, students develop valuable public speaking and networking abilities through event coordination, workshops, participation in panels. Now, a recent book was launched chronicling the new journey of New York City teens who pioneered the web magazine. And here now, we are pleased to be joined by the founder and director of Harlem Live, Richard Calton, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So in essence, you're kind of like training people to take my job. Let's get right there. How about that? That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, that's definitely something that they do. One works for a producer for the Sherry Shepherd morning show right now, and worked for Dr. Phil for many years. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So give me a little bit about your background in terms of why you felt like this was so important.
Well, I was a teacher for in the public school system in East Harlem, and I was frustrated by, that the schools were really not providing the students with, stuff that made them really engaged with their learning. So I stopped teaching, and I learned HTML, and I stayed in touch with a lot of my students where we did a newspaper at the school, and I'm like, hey, there's this new thing called the internet. We started in 1996, and so we just kind of started organically, and it just kind of grew because we were riding the crest of the explosion of the internet. We got a lot of publicity from that.
Right. What was it like for you making that transition?
It was exciting. It was when it was time to go back to the classroom, I'm like, I can't do that now because this was something that I was really passionate about. The kids won the award from the King of Sweden. They were part of the National Smithsonian. They got covered by the New York Times, CNN. So we kind of we're all caught up in this. We felt like we were pioneers. I guess the kids were. They were pioneers.
Right. So the kids who participated in the program, I gave a little bit of an intro as to what they kind of experienced, but give us the experience of what they had.
Say that again?
The experience of the young people. I said I gave a little intro into what it was like, but give us a little bit of the experience of what they had in the program.
Well, I think the biggest thing they got out of it was the ability to, like when we did man on the street interviews, they went out and able to go up to strangers and ask questions. And I mean, even today when I work with young people, sometimes we'll get on the subway, I'll have them play a word game, and I'll give them a clipboard with no pen. I'm like, well, you have to even ask for a pen from someone, and and you'll get farther if you ask them. So just that ability to go up to people and ask, and not being afraid or intimidated about making things happen for their lives. So I think journalism is a great platform. They didn't have to go into journalism, but the skills that they learn in doing journalism, scheduling, asking questions, researching, writing, producing the either video or the website. All of it was student run. I tried to stay in the background as much as possible and have them be the forefront. Whether it was going to talk to people, and they had true ownership of the program.
For yourself, obviously, to expose young people to journalism in that kind of way, that was major. I mean, I think growing up myself, being a Harlemite, and I'm always proud of it, I didn't have the opportunity to have a lot of access to different things.
Right.
For you, knowing that you were providing and bridging this gap, what did that mean for you?
Oh, well, it was honored to work with them. They really carried me forward. I was inspired. Again, I was so frustrated by the schools, seeing the youth being such creative and being so creative and just great. I was motivated by the youth myself. So,
So let's talk about the book. It's called The Legacy of Harlem Live, and as you take a look here, you'll see, and it's a great work in progress, great work of your progress that you've actually made. How long did it take you to really say, I'm going to put the book out?
Well, I've been talking about it for years, but my therapist several years ago, this isn't happening. So I hired a coach who was able to take all my writing and put it into a structure. And then once that happened, it was like, okay, you need to write more here, right here. And then once that took place, it took about 2 years.
And And some of the things you talk about in the book, I know one of the things you talk about is, not-for-profit owners and some of the challenges of not-for-profit owners when it comes to this issue of funding.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there right now that are not-for-profit and really struggling in the area of funding.
We had that struggle all along. I mean, I for the most part, I never took a salary for myself. Whatever money we got, we used towards the equipment. I was very fortunate to get introduced to Teachers College right away. I had an entree, and I started by volunteering there. They ended up hiring me, and then I started bringing in 1 kid, and 2 kids, and 3 kids, and they saw the kids, and they were inspired by the youth. So having that established that relationship with the college, Teachers College, early on, gave us that stature that that really helped us propel forward, And so I would recommend anyone who does a nonprofit is trying to align yourself maybe with a college or university, to help that process happen.
Right. So what do you want people to take away from your book?
That the youth are so much more capable of doing things that we're not giving them the opportunity to. Some people say, "Oh, kids are disinterested and they don't really care and they're just doing TikTok." It's like, no, it's not true. Brian over here, Shaunetta's son, who is here, they're fantastic, and it's like we're just not giving them the trust and the opportunity to really shine. And so I'm hoping that other people are inspired by the book and that they try to start similar ventures in their own communities.
You talked about the word exposure, right? That's pretty much what we're talking about is
Huge,
exposure, right?
huge.
And exposure makes the difference, I think. For any young person to have exposure, it gives them an opportunity to make some life-changing and life-altering, decisions and possible opportunities. When it comes to journalism, it isn't always high on people's list, right?
No, but it's a great venue because then you put that press badge on and they have a license to be nosy about anything, So it's like if I call you and like, hey, I'd like to do a story about you, like, yo, kid, I'm busy. Oh, I'm doing a story about. I want to do a story about you for my magazine. Oh, you want to do a story about me? Come on, It's like So it opens doors. It gave the students entree. And, they met people like Maya Angelou, Jay-Z, the both Clintons, Obama. There was one time when they were doing Donna Brazile was doing a book signing. She was so enamored by the kids, she got them passes to go to the Democratic National Convention in 2004, where they met Maxine Waters and Jerry Springer and Obama, before anyone knew who he was,
Right.
So, yeah, that exposure is huge. And it's just, whether they're going to backstage of the Lion King or interviewing the editor-in-chief of different magazines, just for them to see, they realize all of a sudden these are opportunities I didn't think about before, just in the process of covering the news.
Yes. So for yourself, having such an impact on the lives of these young people and families, what's it been like for you?
I'm fulfilling, utterly fulfilling, because they're all this was 20, 25 years ago. I'm still friends with them. I'm working with their kids now, and so they're my family. It's like, it's who my family is now, really.
Right. As you mentioned, the program isn't really running, but you are working with families.
Yeah, I am working with the alums. In fact, we started creating newsletters for the residents in my building, and we were about to do that in their blocks and buildings, and then COVID hit. Some of the kids moved out of the city. And then also one of the alums, Melvin Johnson, who passed right at the beginning of COVID, he was getting us started on doing a documentary about taking the archival footage that we have from the video and doing current interviews. We did a few of those, and then we were about to go cover the alums in their different fields. And so we're gonna now pick that up. Now that I'm done with the book, I can now start with doing that, and I'm gonna do it with the alumni kids.
So if people want to get their hands on the book or find out more about the book, what do they do?
They can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, or if they're a bookstore, they can order them in bulk from Ingram Spark. So it's available on all the major platforms.
All righty. Well, I want to take a quick break and come back with more. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Listen, we'll take a quick break and be right back after this.
course.
Yes.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right?
I always feel like I can solve my own problems, but eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me. And you realize that you're not alone. Once you take that first step, there's so much support.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because it felt like a failure. And then I realized, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents.
You think you created family out of characters?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna take that, make it into a song.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at, where you at, on the way out. In my head, in my head, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Pop.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
It's important to get a flu shot each and every year because flu viruses are constantly changing and immunity from the vaccine decreases over time. Flu vaccines are updated annually to work against that year's viruses. The best time to get your shot is in the fall, but getting it later can still help. Getting a flu shot lowers your risk of getting sick, and if you do happen to get flu, it's likely to be less severe.
We all know what it's like to feel alone. But it just takes one new connection.
Want to get out of here?
To empower many.
This is unbelievable.
It doesn't take a superhero to bring forces together. We all have the power to reach out
Let's go!
and help someone feel like they belong.
Pretty cool, huh?
We are stronger together.
And we are back with a conversation with the founder and director of Harlem Live, Rich Calton, and also joining us now, an alumni at Harlem Live, Shaunetta Gibson, and she joins us here. And, as Rich was talking about the people about impact and really into the lives, I think this is a great testimony here of how you actually been able to pass it down. So, first of all, how long were you with Harlem Live?
In high school, I was with Harlem Live for 2 years, and then just 2 years ago, my son and my daughter started being active participants with Rich, trying to continue the legacy of Harlem Live, getting exposure to media and journalism and stuff.
So for you, what was the driving factor to say, I want to be a part of this?
Oh, well, in high school, I wanted to be active. I wanted to learn new things, and Harlem Live seemed like the perfect opportunity to get my hands wet in different areas of my interest. So I definitely was fulfilled by my participation in Harlem Live with learning different things. Being a high school student, you want to get experience for college. You want to, just explore.
Right. So it made you feel a certain type of way because obviously now you got the kids involved. So what was it for you to say, kids, come along here, this is what I want you to know?
Definitely. I think the impact on me, I felt that I also wanted my kids to also have access to that same type of impact in regards to having access to gaining experience, knowledge, and hands-on hands-on experience with learning different things about, especially media technology, especially where the world is going today. So.
Yeah, and it seems though, well, not it seems though, it definitely was like you're right on part in on time, because now you look out, everybody's a journalist, everybody's got their iPhone, they got YouTube, they've got this, they've got that, but you were showing how you could actually do this both in an organized setting and also in an informal setting, way before things really kicked into gear.
Yeah, well, I was that was influenced by my education. I went to NYU, and my major was journalism, but my minor was computer science.
Okay.
And so I was always kind of like into technology. So yeah, that kind of helped my education background.
What advice do you give to people, particularly about our young people, about that exposure, and particularly exposure in the field of journalism? Because it's not as popular as it used to be, I think.
Yeah,
And you know, nowadays everybody's got an opinion, and nobody wants to really be a good journalist. But journalism, I tell people journalism still wins. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to rethink the program, because so many things have changed. And I thought about it, it's like, what would we do? Maybe we would team up kids of 2 and 3, and they would have their own TikTok channel or something like that. And the thing with ChatGPT, I've been teaching her son Brian, and he he dived right in. He got right into it. And I don't think we should like try to restrict people from it. I think we should jump right in and show them how to use it, and how to amplify their own voices and make sure it doesn't, subsume their voice.
Yeah, I don't know if you could hear in the last one, I was talking to Daniel, he was talking about, really how it's important to get people exposed to, young people exposed to ChatGPT, AI, because you don't want them to get left behind in this digital divide. And I know that's kind of like what you're saying about, about your child. I want to make sure that my child is exposed to
As many things as possible, yes. Especially when it comes to advancing technology and stuff, yeah.
Why?
Why? Because I think it's important for our children to grow with the times,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's true. I mean, a lot of people sometimes do get left behind because they just really don't. So for you, having access to exposure to a program, Rich, what he's bought, what has it meant to you?
It's impacted me in several different ways, and it's helped me with my own self as an individual. I was exposed to public speaking, marketing, I did web editing, I did a little bit of everything, and it helped me be a well-rounded individual going forward, yeah.
So future, right? Now you're working with the alumni, the kids of the alumni. It's almost like your granddad, right? But talk to me about what's the future look like for you?
Well, like I said, I want to pick up where Melvin left off. Melvin was really like the father figure. He came in early in the program, and he was an influence for everyone. He was a dynamic personality from the Bronx, and he was just, I'd be able to stay home with this book if he was still alive. We worked with his sons too, but then they moved to Georgia after the pandemic. But I want to, for one thing, I want to continue with the project. He started us on that documentary, but also to influence and encourage communities to do like those newsletters, to show that young people can do the newsletters at a localized level, like whether it's their building or their block. So they do stories about that will help build community within their immediate surroundings. So I just hope that the book can influence other people to try different things, and to also put a lot of trust and know that the kids have a lot more capabilities than sometimes we give them the opportunity.
Yeah. What have you been noticing since your son's participated? Have you noticed, like, okay, he's definitely a little bit more locked in?
Yeah, he's definitely more interested in learning more about certain things. He enjoyed his time with Rich learning about the ChatGPT. I think he's ahead of me with that one.
Okay.
He's a little
That's usually how it works, so just know you're all right.
Ahead of me with that one, but he's definitely engaging and, interested in learning more about, technology and media and stuff.
If I could jump in, anytime I taught the youth anything about technology, it wasn't within months that they went way past what I knew.
Right.
So it's almost like you just have to show it to them, and then they take off.
It's like giving them the car, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
next thing you know, they're driving. The next thing you know, you don't see them anymore. So when you talk about the future, obviously, it's really you did a great job. We talk about closing the digital divide, but really at that day and time, you're doing a great job of closing the digital divide. What do you say to other educators? What do you say to other people? Because we know that, you know, places like Harlem and across the city, you have a lot of underserved people, and they need the access.
They can't be afraid of it. They got to jump in and learn it themselves, you know, because they can't. If they don't, it's going to overtake them, you know. So it's like, if you're an educator, it's your duty to find out what makes this work and how to use it, you know, to help the kids, not, you know. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. So for being a part of the program when you were back there, talk to me about what you had to do, what it was like, because you know, from a student's perspective, what did you have to do?
So we were very independent in building the website. There are different aspects to be involved with.
No, let me cut it. What do you mean by independent? Like you had your own autonomy, you could do what you want to do?
Yeah, for the most part,
Okay.
I got to do a little bit of everything. So Rich was in the background. If you wanted to do web editing, you could do web editing. If you wanted to go do interviews on the street, go out with your press badge and interview celebrities, you could do that. I was more of, I wanted to do a little bit of everything. So I did upload things to the website. I worked with Adobe, Photoshop. I did administrative work. Like I said, I did public speaking. I did event planning, did marketing. I just wanted to have a little bit of everything, and a little bit of all of that is still in me. So
yeah.
I did the interviews too. I interviewed Akon, Styles P. So I just had an amazing experience being able to, and as a teenager, I think that is powerful for you to be independent, make your own choices, and be organized and dedicated to doing and completing tasks by yourself. Like, I think that was ahead of my time, you know.
Right. Do you feel like that was the catalyst in helping you to find your voice in life?
I think so, because being a part of Harlem Live helped me build my confidence, my self-esteem, also being able to approach people, you know, being friendly and, you know, not afraid to, you know, have conversations about certain things, especially with strangers.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, Rich, I was saying that they were talking to me about just this, because we do training here too, you know, and we train our interns in the field of journalism. So, or even studio production. And I said, when you come to the journalism side, there's so much that you learn. You learn, you know, interpersonal skills. You get confidence, right? Because I'm scared to ask the question. You go from being scared to ask the question now to like, all right, lady, stop. You know, it runs the gamut. But there's so many other life skills that actually come through this career that, you know, you look and you see in the lives of the people that you touch that, wow, you know, it's more than just knowing how to do and create a story. It's really creating a storyboard, if you will.
Yeah, and just to be proactive about your life, not to be afraid to go out and make things happen, you know, instead of waiting for them to happen, you know. And one thing I'm really proud about, it's like sometimes the kids were running that program 24/7 between themselves and the alums. We never had to file a police report, never had to go to the hospital, and sometimes they were out, you know, they were out on their bikes, they were going on their own. We went on trips, domestic and international. We never had any incident.
Right.
You know.
And then to take a program that you just had, like, listen, I'm just going to stop. This is where I'm being led to do, and now you do it. And then you're national and international. Did you ever see that coming?
No. No. In fact, the way that we started was not the way you're supposed to start. I mean, people were like, oh, you got to do this, you got to write a proposal. And I'm like, you know what, give me a laptop and a couple kids, and we just started doing it. And, you know, it just grew organically, you know. And just the same thing we were doing with the book. We didn't do all the, you know, the things that you do when you first come out of a book. I'm like, you know what, we have faith in this story. Let it grow organically. Let the word get out, and it'll grow over time, you know.
So people who want to pick up the book, tell them again, they can go to Amazon.
You can go to Amazon, Apple. It looks best on Apple. But Barnes & Noble and Ingram Spark. It's on all the major platforms right now. So.
Yeah. And what advice do you give somebody who may be out there thinking about doing a little bit like what you've done?
Don't. No.
That's what we all tell them, right? Don't do it, right?
No, I mean, it's such a rewarding experience to work with youth, and they're so capable. And again, they inspired me. There were so many times. I mean, the challenges that we came up with, a lot of it had to do with space. But time and time again, I'm like, okay, that's it. I've had enough. But the kids are like, no, so, they've kind of propelled me through. And like I said, it's my life is, I feel so blessed having had them in my life, and now they're kids too, so.
Right. What was the hardest part? If you look back and say, what was the challenging part?
Well, for me, it would have been traveling because I actually lived in Queens and the program was in Harlem.
Right.
And so I went to school in Manhattan and I would travel uptown to go to Harlem Live, and then I didn't want to leave. I'd be there 8 p.m. and still had to travel an hour and some change back to Queens and then get up the next morning and go to school. So that was the most challenging part. Everything else almost came naturally. Yeah.
So you said you stayed there all day?
Yeah, after school. That's where I was for those 2 years, yeah.
So here you take the train, you get there, then afterwards you're hanging out there working, then take the train, go back, and then back to school.
Yep.
So it's kind of like you just staying at home. That was about it. But the rest of the time was spent in Harlem Live.
Most of it, yep, during the weekdays. Yes, after school.
Right. And now your son.
My son, we got a schedule going with Rich. He's about 3 days a week, 2 days a week.
Yeah, we just started. Well, like I said, I just finished the book, so now I can go back working with the kids again. But one thing about the space and them wanting to be there, it's important that we create spaces that are not institutional feeling. I mean, we had couches and a hammock and an iguana at one point,
Yeah.
and we didn't have fluorescent lighting. And I think that's so important that you have spaces where the kids really want to be there, and that it doesn't feel like school.
Some of the best journalism comes out of non-traditional spaces.
Yeah.
And some of the best just learning
absolutely.
comes out of non-traditional space. I'm learning without even having to feel it. I'm chilling, but I'm really actually learning and really getting.
Yeah, we had plants. We had plants and wood. I mean, it was just. I think it's really important that there's so much space that's available too. I think one of the things I would like to see is like government give vouchers to nonprofits who can use that towards getting rent. So, because that's a challenge. I know that one of the alums is trying to do a program like this with youth up in Newburgh, and like that's their biggest thing is space. Is like trying to find the right space. And again, the challenges that we came up with in the book, some of them are pretty dramatic. All had to go around with come around the idea of space.
Yeah. As I said earlier, I think a good part for you was like you were ahead of the curve, right? And getting ahead of the curve. Do you have any advice for somebody about that? Because I mean, obviously you didn't know that you were going to be ahead of the curve, but you did have a feeling like, hey, this is what I need to do.
Yeah, I would have to say an unspoken theme in the book is serendipity. I mean, it was like I didn't even know that this stuff was gonna happen, and so I don't know what to say about that. I timing was like kind of like magically on our side. When we got into that space at 125th, we had no furniture. But then like 2 days later, AOL Time Warner said, hey, we were getting rid of all this, new furniture, fairly new furniture, and that filled up the whole space. But that's just one example of like how timing again and again just kind of like fell into our lap.
Right.
So.
And people didn't know where you were located. Where were you located?
We had a different location. The first location I was going around to the kids in their homes, and then we were at Columbia Teachers College, and then we were at a community technology center called Playing to Win. Then we got our own space at 125th, and then we moved to 120 when they were knocking that building down after our lease was up. So we moved to a basement of 123rd, and yeah, we had expanded into the back, and then when they told us that we had to retract and take that space away that we had created in the back area that was outside, that's when I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. It was it was again coming down to space,
Right. For yourself, what would you tell other parents about having your child engaged in technology, journalism, because obviously it's impacted you in such a way that you're passing it on?
Yeah, I think it's important for parents to let their children engage in whatever resources are available to them in their communities, because a lot of communities don't have certain resources. And I think parents should also fight to try to get certain types of resources, especially when it comes to the world of media and technology, because this is an advancing field. Yeah.
And for the future, okay.
I just always say, as a kid, one of the things that drove me as a teacher, I had a stepmother that ripped up my poetry, and that silenced my voice. And so as a teacher, it was always my drive to find what interested kids, what sparked them, and then to nurture that, you know. So
Right.
one of the things I did as a school teacher was take kids on trips after school, and just seeing them interact with things happening in the city is like, okay, I see what gets their, you know, what gets them excited. So I think it's important for parents to be really in tune to what really turns their kids on, so to speak, and make sure that they provide the resources that kind of like nurture those interests, you know.
Yeah, but I give you major props because as I hear her say, there's a lot of independence that you created, right? Because when you go into teaching institutions sometimes, that independence is taken away.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, but when you give independence, it gives way to creativity and so many, it's so many different things that can blossom from that.
Yeah. I think in some more, maybe more affluent communities, I think they allow that to happen a lot more than they do in, like, you know, in schools that don't have as much resources, you know.
Take the keys, take the car. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of flow. So as we look to the future, obviously people want to get in touch. What do they do if they want to get in touch with you? And we already talked about the book. So
Yeah, the legacy, the old site that Shaunetta and the rest hit up, that's put up harlemlive.org. We also now have created harlemlive.net, which I'm still working on it, but I'm creating a chapter for a blog for every chapter so that people can immerse themselves even further. So harlemlive.net or harlemlive.org will drive you to either one of those sites, and to get the book, especially the EPUB version. If you really want to lose yourself into what these kids did, you know, you might click on the word trust, and then it'll link to a video where a kid's talking about how trust was so important, you know.
Wow.
Or we have incredible videos that the kids do, like of Maya Angelou and Stephanie Mills singing Home when Al Sharpton came back from being in jail for that protest in Vieques, you know. So there's a lot of hidden Easter eggs in the EPUB version.
Yeah, a lot of experience, a lot of exposure. What was the most memorable one for you?
The most memorable one, you caught me off guard with that one. I think being a part of the Harlem Day Parade and being submersed in our culture and being able to have access to behind the scenes. And I think that was memorable because that was my first taste of knowing that I had power as an individual to use my voice to make myself stand out.
Yeah. Well, Shaunetta, I want to thank you for being with us and congratulations.
Thank you.
Passing down the legacy. Rich, thank you so much for the great work that you've done and you continue to do.
Thank you.
And as I said, I'm always pro Harlem. I'm from Harlem, so anything that you've done for empowerment in the Harlem community gets a special kudos from me. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, I want to let you know, come to the end of our show today. Hope that you just enjoyed this week's discussion on the Bronx Social Justice and Anti-Violence Forum. Now, if you want to rewatch this week's edition, check it out. Watch the Recablecast right here on BronxNet.org. If you want to join the conversation, present your point of view, visit our social media, BronxNet TV, and join us next week. We're going to continue to elevate the discussion, bring some further awareness on things that are happening across the globe. I am Daren Jaime saying take care. Talk to you soon.